Hello folks, I hope you're all doing well. We are here down in the shed in the little potting area, and we're doing something a little bit different this year because we're going to go for very hot chilies. And this is the first part in a sort of series of videos. I reckon there'll probably be about 3 or 4 videos in the series I'll put together, and if you want, you can grow along with me. You can do what I'm doing on the sort of time of year that I'm doing them. Like I say, this is the first stage, the very first video. And this you're probably good doing this all the way up until, I don't know, end of February sort of time. One little caveat is though, I will be using heat and I will be using light from a grow light and a heated propagator, but I'll come to that in a very short while. First of all, let's talk about chilies and the seeds we've got and the ones we've got over here. So we've got a few different varieties, and let me start off with these ones, the mild ones. These ones are called Kashmiri. And you can see there, they're called mild on the packet, and they'll probably do around about 1,000 Scovilles. So if you don't know, chilies are measured in a unit called a Scoville, which tells you how hot they're going to be. It's only approximate, and I'll mention that in a minute there when I come to some of the other seeds that we're going to do. Next one is a medium one, and that is a Hungarian hot wax chili. You can see that one there as well. That'll get between 5,000, 6,000 and 15,000, that'll go all the way up to. Then we've got these ones here, but Jolokia White. That is, we're getting into some serious heat here, and there'll be a massive jump from the Hungarian hot wax to these ones. These will go up to around about 1 million, so we're getting really hot. And then the piece de resistance, we've bought some Carolina Reaper, and it even says there on the packet, extremely hot. Now this will do around about 1.6 million Scovilles to 2 million. So there's a bit of a range, and I mentioned before there's a range in heat in the chili peppers, and that's because it depends on where you're growing them. Here where I am, I'll be growing them under cover. They'll be in the polytunnel. The polytunnel gets really hot during the summer, and you need that heat, you need that intense heat to give the chilies the intense heat. It sort of passes it on. And, you know, the polytunnel gets up to about 50 degrees probably in the summer. So they'll always be grown under cover. You can grow them outside, depends where you live. You know, if you live somewhere where there is beautiful sunshine most of the year round, or your outside temperatures get really hot, great, do them outside. Here in Scotland, we're not that fortunate, so I have to grow them under cover, which again is one of the reasons why I'm getting them set off so early in the year, because we have a relatively short growing season, especially in terms of heat and light. We get them started early, get them under the artificial lights with some artificial heat, and get them going nice and early. The other thing to think about when you're sowing your chilies is the frost zone that you're in. So here, my last frost zone is around about the first week in May. So far this year it's been really mild. Outside today, you know, what are we now, the 9th, 10th, 8th, I don't know, 9th of January. Outside, normally it's freezing cold. I've just got a t-shirt and a shirt on here. It's about 8 to 10 degrees out there. It is weirdly warm at the moment this time of year, but we can always be caught out by frost. If your chili plant, if it gets any frost around the roots, it'll kill it off. You've done all that hard work. It's such a shame if you've nurtured that plant from a seed, if you brought it on little seedlings and you put it out too early and the frost comes and kills it. Obviously, all over the world, all the frost zones are different. In the description below, I will put a link to some websites you can go and have a look at, and it'll tell you what your frost zone is, when your last frost date is expected. I might take a bit of a gamble with some of them. If I have extra plants, if I've done spare plants, which I always have, I might put some out a little bit early. If it stays mild all the way through the year, the plants will come on really early, really well. If not, if they get caught out by the frost, if they die, I'll replace them with another one that I've maybe been keeping inside or under glass or in the polytunnel, something like that. But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, on to the important bit, getting things sowing and grown. What I'll do is I'll get set up over here where the sort of sowing area is, and I'll... Right, I'm back, hello. And apologies for the funny camera angle that we might be at the moment. And for those of you who haven't seen one of these sort of sewing along videos that I do, that I have it at this angle because I think it's more important that you guys can see what's going on here with all the different bits and pieces that I'm using, as opposed to my face in the shot with what's going on. So you get this sort of top-down view, and apologies again, you'll maybe get the top of my head in there every now and again. But again, this is the important bit as opposed to this. So, first off, what have we got here? we've got some peat-free compost and some perlite, and I'll come to that. So the type of compost I'm using, it's called Melcourt Silver Grow, and it's 100% peat-free, and it is one of the best compost you can use for sowing seeds. It is really, really, really fine. Now, I generally sieve any sort of compost that I would use for sowing seeds in it, and actually, let's just give you a quick demonstration here. We'll grab the sieve, there it is, you can see it there. We'll put it in. I've got a big bag full of the compost down here, and we'll just chuck 2 handfuls in there, and let's give it a sieve through there. And look at that, there's nothing, there's like 2 tiny little bits of wood in there. You can even see my face through it. There's next to nothing left in there, and it's absolutely brilliant stuff. It's great stuff. And the little white flecks that you can see in there as well in this mix that I'm using for sowing the seeds is something called perlite. Now, perlite is actually volcanic glass that's been collected, mined, however they sort of get it, and it gets superheated till it pops like popcorn, and it becomes these little white flecks, if you can just see them there, and it feels and it looks a little bit like polystyrene when it comes out of the bag. And there's a couple of reasons I'm using perlite in here. It's a great substance to get it in and about your compost, because it allows it allows the air to circulate, I think is the best way to put it. It aerates the compost. It's not all sort of claggy and stuck together. And the other is it's really good for controlling the moisture in the compost, so it will retain moisture and it lets the plants get it when it needs it. Now, chilies don't like to be absolutely soaked all the time, which is where the perlite's good. So it will draw the moisture out of the compost and keep the compost, it'll keep it damp. It's not going to sort of dry out completely, and it'll hold on to any sort of nutrients or any moisture there in the perlite, and the roots in the plant can go down and get it. So they stay quite dry, but the moisture's there and the nutrients are there if they need it. Next up, we're going to use these little green trays, and there's a specific reason we're using them now. I mentioned before that we're going to use heat. Now, I've got a device, a heated propagator called a Garland Super 7. And again, I'll put links to all this sort of stuff down below. And the Garland Super 7 is brilliant. It's called a Super 7 because you can fit 7 of these little tubs on it. And they're absolutely brilliant for starting your seeds off. So we'll just fire some of the compost in there. And while we're talking about the Super 7, a lot of heated propagators have thermostats on it. The Super 7 doesn't, and what it does is it will heat the temperature of the propagator up to about 6 to 8 degrees higher than the room that it's in, and that's great for chilies because chilies need between 20 and 30 degrees centigrade to germinate. So you ideally want to be at the top end of that scale as well. Around about 28 degrees is sort of ideal to get them to germinate. So they need to be quite hot. So putting it in a room that you've maybe got your heating on or something in already is absolutely fabulous and just ideal for getting them to germinate. If you don't have one, or you don't want to buy one, you don't have that sort of stuff, don't worry. Chuck some in a little seed tray like this. Put it in a nice snuggly warm airing cupboard, or near a, you've got a shelf above a radiator, something like that. Put it in there and it's going to get the sort of radiating heat from out of the room. Now, I've just realised I've probably just put a tiny little bit too much compost in this tub, so I'm just going to knock a little bit out. It's getting too excited there over heated propagators, and you can, the Garland Super 7 is the one I use, and I think it's a great device. But you get all sorts of different ones. You can get heat mats and square-shaped ones and stuff like that. I think the thing with the Super 7 is as well, it's called a windowsill propagator because it's about as wide as this section of this tray here, and it sits on the windowsill, and then these little sort of trays sit inside of it like that, and it's a great thing. Honestly, it's absolutely brilliant. So we've got our compost, we've got our perlite, and it's all mixed in there. It's around the ratio, maybe it's about 60% ish of compost to about 40% ish of perlite. Now, I don't weigh it out, I don't measure it out, just sort of mix it in by hand, just by eye. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's fun. And if you don't have perlite, or you don't use perlite to buy it, just chuck some compost in a tray and chuck the seeds in, put them somewhere warm, and they'll probably germinate anyway. I like to give them the best conditions I can do, shall we say, to germinate. And I've got our Carolina Reaper seeds here, the the super duper hot ones. How many have I got? 7. And that's probably about right for me, because I'll only actually bring on a couple of plants in the polytunnel. And let's top this up here with compost on the top. And I'm just going to use this little device before. You might have seen it. It's just a little sort of damper, do you call it? And you just sort of, I'm just pushing it down ever so lightly. I'm not pushing on there very hard. And what I want to do is make sure that the seed gets full contact with the compost, so it has the best chance of germinating. You don't want any little air pockets, any gaps in the compost that the seed's going to sit in and not germinate. So I want it to have full contact with the compost there. Next, I'm just going to grab something else from down here. So we've mentioned perlite. We've now got something called vermiculite. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to pour some of this on the top. Let's just give it a bit of a shake. And if anything, this almost acts in the opposite way to perlite, and it's very easy to get your vermiculates and your perlites muddled up. But I like the vermiculite to sit on the top there, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's going to help to maintain moisture inside the tub. So the vermiculite will keep moisture in, and the perlite will control where the moisture is at the bottom there, whether it's in and about the compost where the plant needs to get it from. The other thing that the vermiculite is going to do is, once I'm completely finished with this, it'll get one of these little lids on it, and these are brilliant little things. So we'll pop the lid on there, and I'll probably pretty much close this vent on the top, and it'll get really humid in there when it's on the heated propagator. And when the plants start to grow, if it's really humid and damp in there, there's a chance of what you call dampening off. So it'll cause the plants to sort of rot and die. Now the vermiculite on the top is going to help control that by absorbing any excess moisture that exists in here. So we're still going to get the humidity to get the germination, but the vermiculite is going to control it so that it doesn't kill the plants off. And you can open those vents. If it's getting too bad, you can open the vents a little bit, and that helps as well. But that is them pretty much done, and it's as simple as that. We've actually one more really important job to do that I am terrible at forgetting to do. I've written a label out here that I just put the plant name on and the date, and I'm going to pop it in there so I know what's in this tray, because as you can imagine, once I've done them all, these trays all look absolutely identical. So what have we got in here? We've got compost. We've got the Silver Grow compost with perlite in it. Put in there, we've got our Carolina Reaper chili seeds in there, topped off with a bit more of the compost mix, vermiculite on the top. This little lid is going to pop on the top there. It's then going to go up to the house, and I'm going to pop it on top of the heated propagator, and it's going to stay there for around about 10 days, till we see some germination on those seeds. And that's me pretty much done for today. You've seen me faffing on a little bit with the, we've got the perlite and the specific type of potting compost that we use, and the vermiculite in the top, but it's all done for a reason, to hopefully give us nice, strong plants for the season ahead. Please think about following along with the different parts of this series. We'll be looking at, once these are germinated, we'll be getting them potted on, they'll be going to the grow lights. We'll then look at different types of feed and things that we need to give the plants before finally moving them into the last sort of place in the polytunnel to get them grown, where we'll get some decent heat in there, because here in Scotland we don't get enough heat outside to grow them outside, so they have to be under cover. It'd be lovely to have enough sunshine, enough heat to grow them outside, but inside the polytunnel we'll get it to about 40-50 degrees centigrade over the summer, which should give us some great fiery heat inside those Carolina Reaper chilies. And you never know, we might do something at the end where we might have a little taste of them. We'll see how brave I get with them. Anyway, please think about subscribing. It's absolutely free. Just click the red button down below. If you like what we're up to in this video, give us a thumbs up and leave any comments you have in the space down below. Let us know what you're up to. Are you doing chilies? What varieties are you doing? Any top tips would be much appreciated. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.